Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. It is really a Monday here. That's Ari. I'm Korea. It's been a weekend. It was a rough one for one of us. That one was me. Just not great at all. Not my best performance. Let's just get right into it. Full recap. Obviously, just really tough weekend. Navy. I mean, they fumbled the ball 3 times in the first half. They were driving 3 times, but they turned over the ball, so only resulted in 1 touchdown. So, you can only take so much from that. It's looking like it was the right side, but just turnover, interception, pick six going the other way. Not even a pick six, interception. Set up in great field for Notre Dame. Just tough weekend there. Couldn't even get a first half spread. I mean, that's all you were asking for, just to cover the 7, and it was looking good. Obviously, and Navy's offense, it wasn't like it was dormant. Obviously, they were moving the ball, pretty efficiently. But then you look at the first half, Navy had, I think, like 200 yards. I believe Notre Dame had like 250. So you would think, oh, it's probably a close game. No, it was like 14-7, like it was a 17-point game or something. I don't even know. Didn't even cover. So that ruined my day first. And then UCF, just wrong side. UCF is fake sharp every week. And this morning, they just fired their DC. So that's how fake sharp they are. They fired their defensive coordinator, just rat shit program. And you want and just continuing down, rat shit and Northwestern and Iowa. This one is the one that really pissed me off on Saturday. Sorry, right, I'm taking an under, right? It's looking so good for the first half, right? It's looking fantastic, right? And then all of a sudden, I see 85-yard TD pick six, 85-yard punt return, 26-yard TD run, 41-yard TD run. And I say, you know what? If that's how my weekend's going to go, that's how my weekend's going to go. You know what? We're moving on. Cincinnati, Colorado. That was a nice, a little bit of a sweaty over, obviously. We needed a little bit of a miracle near the end, obviously. But, I was more backing, Dion and that whole prime offense at home. No pun intended. But just more backing, Shador at home. I was more backing that offense just to really get a groove going against, a really suspect Cincinnati defense. And they pretty much were just doing their thing, obviously, with the deep ball shot. Jimmy Horn got involved, pretty much. And, I knew, excuse me, I knew Cincinnati was going to make this close, obviously, with their offense. And they obviously got some garbage time some garbage time scores late. But in the end, it was obviously Colorado who got the win. But obviously, we just needed points. And obviously, it snuck over. Obviously going at 57. So obviously that is a great winner there. But I'm saying this now, so I can just get it out of the way. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus from any college football bets. It's been a rough couple of past weeks for me. Just last week and then heading into this week, I thought I was, really great. And then the way I lost all 3 was some of the most ridiculous nonsense that I've seen, with Northwestern, Iowa having so many special team issues, UCF not showing up, being fake sharp, and then Navy turning over the ball 3 times. It was just a very, very unbelievable weekend. And so I'm just going to reset for myself. So we're going to be doing a complete reset for college football. So TBD on the next plays coming out then. We're maybe just getting ready for college basketball. We even just stick with college basketball for the time being, just getting ready. Tip off about a week away, so very exciting there. But obviously, tough weekend for me on Saturday. Ari, how'd you do on Saturday?
2-0. Can you hear me fine? Okay, because the Wi-Fi signal's up. Okay, just making sure. 2-0 day for me on Saturday. The Oklahoma Ole Miss was not really sweaty because it finished at 24, but Ole Miss scored a touchdown to make it 24 with 6 seconds left in the half, so it was basically over at that point. They traded touchdowns in the first quarter, so that was a little sweaty. I think it was what Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss got a big stop on downs at the 2-yard line on 4th and goal in the second possession of the game after they scored a touchdown. So that would have been even more sweaty if Oklahoma entered right back there. But overall, a good win. And then A&M, it was a brutal first half. LSU for A&M It's pretty much a brutal whole game for Wayman. But fortunately, the run game took over in the second half. I think Marcel Reed had 3 touchdowns in the second half alone rushing. And they basically blew him out of the water in the second half. I think it was 31-6 in the second half for A&M. So obviously their home field advantage took a little bit to get going, but by the second half, everyone's going crazy, obviously, and there was a really good environment, obviously. So a good 2-0 day for me on Saturday. Obviously, I've had some rough starts as well, just like you've had. So it all happens, obviously, to the best of us. But a good one for me for this week, for this past week.
Yeah, obviously Oklahoma Ole Miss a little bit sweaty there. I didn't really know Oklahoma's offense was going to show up, and they did. So obviously, maybe it's time to tell. Maybe with this new OC and this new offense going for Brent Venables in Oklahoma, maybe their team total might not be a wagon anymore in terms of fading them. But obviously, the under was a great look here. Obviously, backing the defenses essentially. Obviously, a little bit sweaty, obviously, with just Oklahoma getting that last-second score, but obviously just ended at 24. I know some of the books were at 24.5, so obviously just by the hook there. So obviously, you didn't really have to worry about that, 1.5 buffer there. So that was a great winner for you. And obviously, Texas A&M, a little bit of a while to get things going for them offensively. But you mentioned Wegman. Maybe he was a little bit of the issue. Obviously, he got benched, comes in Marcel Reed, and, the offense, turns up a whole notch, obviously, with the dual threat ability, with Marcel's ability to, run the ball. And we saw on the first play, he had that rushing touchdown, and all of a sudden, Kyle Field and all the A&M fans, were all back and all excited. So, obviously, maybe it's a sign of, maybe a quarterback change might potentially be needed, for the future success for the only undefeated team in the SEC, which is surprising to say still at Texas A&M. But obviously, 2-0 weekend for you. That's great to see there. Obviously, continuing the Sunday here, 1-1 day for me. First with the Packers and Jags over. Obviously, it was a little bit of a slow start in the first quarter, but things started to pick up in that second quarter. Obviously, with 13, I believe it was like a 13-10 or something like that ball game at halftime, and then both these offenses really started to get going in the second half. With just the pass game re-evolving more. We saw Josh Jacobs get a really good ground game going, and obviously it was because Jordan Love went injured, went into the medical tent, in came Malik Willis, and like I said, that dual threat ability really kind of just really was the focus for this Packers team. Using Malik Willis on the ground or just pounding the ground with Josh Jacobs. He had 2 scores as well. Obviously, the Jaguars were really trying to come back in this game, and they made it close. Obviously, they were ending up only losing by 3, obviously tie game. I know you'll get into in a little bit here. But, I was more back in points. And obviously I knew this was going to be, I was hoping this was going to be high scoring, and, it was a little bit sweaty at first, but, we got those points in the second half. I knew, the Jaguars weren't going to be going down, without some kind of fight there. And obviously they put up a good fight. So I'll let you get into into your play a little bit there. But Bucks Falcons, that was not the play. That was not the play there. Both offenses really cooked pretty much, in terms of Kirk Cousins. It was pretty much just a repeat of that Thursday night game, just in Tampa Bay, and even though the Bucs didn't have the skill players, they still, scored a lot of points. Obviously, we got to see Rachaad White, be involved. Obviously, a bunch of other guys as well. Cade Otton had 2 scores as well. So, obviously, maybe you can credit National Tight End Day or whatnot, but obviously, just it was a very high scoring game, not really much defense, and I thought there was going to be some defense, obviously, with also the fact that, the skill players were, not really there. Bucks always still find the way to, find the end zone, whether it's, without Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or whoever's there. Obviously Baker Mayfield loves throwing it to whoever. So that was a tough loss on Sunday, but obviously great winner with the Packers and Jags. Obviously just wanted some points there, but unfortunately, Ari, that means it was a tough loss for you, and I'll let you explain that one.
Yeah, at least one of us got a win, obviously, because the over was looking rough in the first half, but then both offenses exploded in the second half. Obviously, Love injury sucked, but even still, I think it was the second play of the fourth quarter is when they sacked Lawrence and he fumbled, and they had the ball inside the 5 and scored to take a 10-point lead with 14 minutes left or 14 and a half minutes left. And then I think they basically traded some punts after that. The Jags got a field goal to get it within 7 with 5.5 minutes left. And then the Packers just went the ultimate conservative run up the middle, and then I think Willis got sacked or basically they got no yards, so 3-and-out punt, and then Lawrence drove down the field for a touchdown. With like a minute 48 left, found Evan Ingram in the end zone to tie it, which I think was that's what cashed the over for you, I think, right? So that cashed the over. And then they left a little bit too much time on the clock for the Packers. And I thought the first play to Jaden Reed might have been a touchdown because it was like 50 yards to the 15. But he went out of bounds. And then at that point, they just went ultimate conservative just to kick a field goal last time expired, obviously, which makes sense, of course. Unfortunately for my play, but it makes sense for them to win the game. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I thought that they would thought that they would score 30, but they would hold the Jaguars to around 20 or 23, something like that, which they were looking like that for a while until the touchdown with a couple minutes left in the game. So a tough one, but we'll move on.
Yeah, obviously, tough line for you. I know that line crept us all the way down as 3, as on Sunday morning. So, if you got the Packers -3, obviously you got your money back, but obviously tough to see you with the -4, not cash. Is obviously, tough loss. As you mentioned, it was 27-20, late in that fourth quarter. So obviously a little nervous for my play, but obviously your play was obviously great. I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence had that great throw to Evan Ingram, so obviously my overhit, but obviously, the spread was done. And then, you mentioned Jaden Reed on that first play. I thought he was going to go to the house as well, but he stepped out of bounds. And then Packers just said, well, let's set up the field goal here and try to win the game on the road. So obviously that's the right call there, but obviously just wrong for your play there. So 0-1 day for you, but obviously, great weekend for you overall with, your Saturday as well. So obviously heading into Monday here, obviously we've been talking about it. We've been bragging about it for a little while here. The Sports Equinox Parlay is here. We got all 4 sports being represented throughout North America: MLB, NBA, NFL, and the NHL, of course, all today. First, we're going to go to the Diamond here, and we're going to go to the World Series Game 3 in New York, and I'm taking the over 8.5 between the Dodgers and Yankees. It's about -122 right now as the piece for the parlay here. I'll explain most of it here. Going back off of Game 2 here, obviously, we had a 4-2 ball game. That game did go under, obviously. First game went over, obviously, with the heroics of Freddie Freeman. But this game did go under. But you look at the stats, pretty underlying. Yankees left 6 guys on base. Dodgers left 4. Dodgers really played a lot more conservative ball after they had that early lead, obviously racking off of Rodon. And I think they continued that success going in on the road here. Obviously, going into what I'd say is going to be a very, very loud stadium in the Bronx tonight. I'm just going to be backing runs here. I know it's tough, when you have to when you it's more of a pitcher's duel. But when you look at these two teams, obviously the Dodgers and Yankees, they're a lot more similar in terms of how they approach. They hit the righties really, really well. Obviously tonight it's going to be Walker Buehler and Clark Schmidt. Not the greatest matchup in terms of an over when you look at it on paper. I know obviously a lot of people are hammering the under just because it's New York or whatnot, but I think there's going to be a lot of runs here. And obviously a lot of people like the Yankees. Obviously they're always already as high as -148, on some books. But, if you like the Yankees, I also kind of like runs here. I think the Yankees bats, this is the do or die game for them, in my opinion, because if they lose this, then the series is done, I think, in my opinion, because the Dodgers are going to be up 3-0. And, there is a little bit of worry because I saw Jazz, I think, talk about it after Game 2. He said there's a little bit of anxiousness, in that, in that locker room for the Yankees. But, I feel like this is the game, if they really want to show up in this series, obviously they've had a couple close losses, and we saw that, how that game 2 ended. Obviously they had all those runners on base, but just couldn't do anything. Now, obviously going back home, I think, maybe those runs come in. So I think we're going to see a lot more runs, and I don't really want to back aside here. I do like the angle of the Yankees getting a bounce back, but, with Clark Schmidt on the mound, I really can't back that. And, I do kind of like the Dodgers potentially, just all the veteran guys in this spot. So like that, I'm just going to back it over here. And so I think we were backing the Dodgers Yankees Game 3 World Series to go over 8.5. Just a lot of runs here. I think we can get 9 runs here between these two teams. You look at the Yankees, like I said, they left 6 guys on base and they scored 2 in their last game. That's obviously 5 runs there. Dodgers scored 4 and they left 4. Say they drive all those guys in, obviously it's a lot more higher scoring. Obviously, even with the matchups, obviously with Carlos Rodon, starting for the Yankees, obviously that's a lefty. So Dodgers were still able to score. Now they get a better matchup for them with Clark Schmidt on the road. We like the Yankees and the Dodgers to go over 8.5 here. That's our first play in the Sports Equinox parlay for the MLB side. Ari, I know you got the NBA basketball court with the Suns money line. Why are we taking the Suns tonight?
Yeah, they're playing the Lakers. It's a rematch. I think it was Friday. This last Friday, they played the Lakers in LA. The Suns exploded early. They had a 22-point lead in the second quarter, and they wound up basically getting blown out. I think it was the second half they got blown out, basically. They got outscored by 17 in the second half, and they lost by I think like 7, despite having a 22-point lead early in the second quarter. So now they're back home. They're a 4-point favorite. For the purpose of the parlay, we'll just take the ML just for them to win at home. Just for them to get bounced back against the Lakers. They did have a game in between. They beat the Mavericks the next day on this past Saturday, so they had a game in between against the Lakers. But looking to bounce back. Now at home, after blowing a 20-point lead, is a narrative that I like to get behind usually in the NBA when you blow a big lead and you return home against the same team and you're still, a pretty significant favorite at 4 points. So I like the Suns to, bounce back after. I mean, they already bounced back on Saturday because they beat the Mavericks technically, but to bounce back against the Lakers specifically, for tonight.
Yeah, I do like the Suns as well. You mentioned it, just a bounce back narrative as well. So obviously for the NBA, we're taking the Suns. I mean, obviously for the NFL game tonight, Monday Night Football, we're just going pretty chalk here. We're taking the Steelers here. No nonsense here. Obviously, when you look at the stats last week for this offense for the Giants, they really could not do anything against the Eagles pass rush. And obviously, the Steelers pass rush is what they're known for. And, no Andrew Thomas for that Giants offensive line. So TJ Watt is going to be living in that backfield all day. Obviously, the only, real, question is the offense. Obviously, just how that offense for the Steelers is going to do against this Giants defense. And, we don't expect them to be great, but obviously we expect the defense for the Steelers just, pretty much shut down this Giants offense. Obviously, even with, all the, I know this line has been bumping around, I think 5.5, 6 or 6.5, whatever. I like the Steelers just to get the win tonight, obviously at home. The Giants offense just really, really bad. Obviously, they only scored 3 points at home. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be taking the Giants potentially to cover this game. I do like that angle, but I just like the Steelers just to get the win here. Obviously, we're taking the better team at home. Obviously, it's chalk, but for this, obviously, we just wanted to include it in the parlay. We know that the Steelers are probably going to win this game at home with their defense. Obviously, we know their offense is probably getting a lot better now, and especially with how they looked last week. Obviously against the Jets, who obviously are very a respectable defense after yesterday. We don't know we can't really say respectable defense anymore, but they still put up a big number against that defense at home. And obviously the Giants are no scrubs defensively as well. But I think if the Steelers can do what they did last week, I think they can really mirror themselves into this week. And I think the Steelers get a good win at home on a primetime game again Monday night, after the Sunday night game last week, now facing the other New York team and the Giants at home. So that's our third leg here, taking the Steelers on the money line here in the Monday night game, for football. And obviously our final leg here of the parlay, the Sports Equinox parlay, going to the ice rink, the hockey rink here. We're taking the Avalanche here on the money line here. Ari, I know we're not the most, knowledgeable with the ice rink here, but why do we like the Avs tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we've made it clear that we're not NHL people, and that's why we haven't had any plays, for the NHL on here. But for the purpose of, today and all that, we'll give it a try. And it's again, chalky. It's pretty clear. But taking the Avs just to win at home against the Blackhawks. It was a weird start to the season for the Avs. They lost their first 4 games of the season, but since they've won 5 in a row, so it seems like they're back on track. And then the Blackhawks, who are traditionally, one of the worst, not traditionally, but at least in recent years, a bad team. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 2-6 on the season. Avs are up to 5-4 after losing 4 in a row and then winning 5 in a row. So, obviously it's pretty chalky. But for the purpose of the parlay, we'll just take them on the money line. They're about -215 on DraftKings, which seems kind of short for a team that won five in a row against a team that lost 4 in a row at home. But sometimes chalky plays can win, obviously, and for the purpose of the parlay, we'll give them a try. And so it's plus 455 as of now altogether. So we'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, all right. First of all, can you hear me? Am I good?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So obviously, first, just I know it's pretty chalk. It seems pretty chalky, but we just wanted to take these 4. Obviously, just go on each side. Obviously, for the sports equinox here, it only comes one time a year. And obviously, all 4 of the major United States or North American sports leagues, obviously combining into one parlay here. Like I said, over 8.5 in Dodgers Yankees. We love that over tonight. We think, a lot of runs coming. Obviously, Yankees, it's a do or die game for them, obviously, with the series on the line. Obviously, they need the run support, obviously. And we think the Dodgers can, supply some runs on the road against Clark Schmidt. Obviously, we are back in the Suns as well, bounce back spot as well, as already mentioned, after coming off that tough loss on the road, blowing a 20-point lead, and yes, it was the King, and, the King is doing his thing, but, I do like the Suns as well in a bounce back spot as home. You mentioned, they had that in between game with the Mavericks, but this is obviously, this is the game that obviously they had circled going after the weekend, obviously after a tough loss on the road. And then we're going to a couple chalk plays for the NFL and the NHL here, going with the Steelers on the money line. Like I said, just backing that defense at home. I think their offense can do just enough to beat the Giants, and just, with how, the offensive line for the Giants have just had so many issues. I think TJ Watt is going to be living in that backfield all day. And then our final play here, obviously, like we said, we don't really know much about the hockey ice rink here, but we're just taking the Avs here, as already mentioned here. Obviously, Avs, they got off to a little bit of a slow start, in terms of their season, but they've really been finding themselves recently. And obviously the Blackhawks, they've been really, really trying to find themselves after the whole Patrick Kane, departure, trying to, rejuvenate their franchise into a new direction here. So obviously it's just more of a rebuild for them. Obviously Avalanche just trying to get their season back on track, taking the Avs at home. It seems chalky, but obviously we're just taking it for, the sports equinox purposes for the parlay here. So 4 legs, obviously 4 sports comes out to plus 455 here. That's our one and only play for today, just the Equinox parlay. The over 8.5, the Suns, Steelers, and Avs. Obviously, you can find this parlay. We'll have that posted on our Triple-O AKP Sports Talk, and this video will have that posted momentarily. That's going to do it for this episode. Of course, like I said last week, we are getting into our full weekday schedule, so tune in tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow we'll be back. I know, Ari, we're probably going to have some NBA, but I, of course, will be getting into the college basketball realm, like I obviously previously mentioned a little bit earlier in this episode. I'm going to be giving out a couple, maybe just one, but we'll see how many futures I like in terms of the college basketball world tomorrow. So tune into that tomorrow. I'm giving out a college basketball future. We got some more NBA, obviously, getting into the real thick of it. If you know the reference, we're getting into the thick of it in terms of, just the prime time of sports. We got college basketball a week from now, NBA, obviously getting into the real slate for college football, obviously big time game soon, and obviously NFL as well. But that's going to do it for this episode. That's RM Korea. We'll be back tomorrow. Peace out, guys.